Welcome to Sports Chaplains Connect, a weekly podcast where you'll hear the journey of someone serving in sports ministry. It's insight, wisdom, discernment, and encouragement for serving the men and women of sport. It's time to connect. Here's your host, Bill Houston.
And Bonnie Bement, we appreciate that introduction, and great to connect with you again on the Sports Chaplains Connect podcast. Joe Lane is my guest. Joe is a great friend, a good friend of many years. And Joe, it is so good to connect with you again. How you doing? How's things going for you?
Man, thanks for having me on. This is a blessing. I don't really know that I feel adequate to do this.
Oh my goodness,
things are
you
good.
kidding me?
Things are good. Real busy. But life in Muskegon has been a blast these days.
Yeah, well, it's so good. Well, tell me, I want to just begin. I always love to begin these conversations with just some background. Tell us, what you're doing and how the Lord brought you in connection with sports ministry at all. Where did that begin for you?
Yeah, so I got connected with sports ministry. Oh gosh, I guess it's been well over 10 years ago, and it was actually you that had a little bit to do with that when we had the Muskegon Thunder, the Arena League football team here.
Yeah.
I'm in Muskegon. And the owners of the team actually went to our church. And so they were looking for someone to come alongside the guys, and they talked to me about it. And I have a reputation for connecting with younger people anyway. So that's kind of how that happened. And then you were having some conferences and some things. And so I went to those just to try to get, just a little bit better understanding of what that calling of chaplaincy was about. Mm-hmm. And so that happened, and I did that with them for probably 3 years.
Okay.
And that team later on dissolved. And now I am currently the chaplain. This is my second season with the Muskegon Risers, which is our professional indoor soccer team. And now we have a ladies team also. So I've been doing that. I've done a couple other things, and I also get to kind of be a chaplain for our kids in high school. Obviously, wow. I'm not in a Christian school. I'm in a public school, but I get to do some ministry with those kids. And even last week we had a hockey game, and I had left early, and one of our trainer sent me a text and said, "Hey, one of the kids is asking you to pray for the team and their strength." And I mean, just because of our relationship, and that was really awesome.
Yeah. Joe, it is so exciting to hear. I just love to hear how the Lord just kind of brings those pieces of the puzzle together so that we can serve him, and he gives us, the desires of our heart so many times. And so when you were working with the indoor football league team, of course, that team, as you mentioned, has since dissolved and they're no longer playing, but now you're doing some indoor soccer with the Muskegon Risers. Tell us about that league and what are we looking at here in terms of, the length of time that the season runs and the type of ministry that you have with them?
Yeah, so we just started, I guess it's been a few weeks now. This is probably, I think, our 4th week in season. The season runs, I want to say it's a couple more months. I actually don't even know. I check the schedule and I show up and I'm there and available with the guys and the girls now, like I said. These are players anywhere from probably 19 to 40s that have played soccer all their lives. Most of them have played at the collegiate level. And a lot of them, of course, are used to playing outdoor soccer. And now they're coming to an indoor game, which has some different things to it. You're playing off the walls inside of an arena, and the net, all of that stuff is different. So and then my relationship with the kids is kids, they're adults, but I'm just old man. My relationship with them is really just about building relationship and coming alongside of them. I like to call myself a conduit, that the moment in which they need something, I want to be there to connect them to the God that's able to give them what they need.
Right. When you think about being a conduit, for these men and women who
Yeah.
are serving or are playing soccer, and you're serving them. What are some of the things that you think about, Joe? How do you do that? Are there some resources you tap into? How do you begin connecting them with the Lord Jesus?
Sure. I think first of all, it's my own reputation and relationship. If I'm not walking in a way that models a light for them, then they're not going to be interested.
Right.
And so I try to do that. I also, in all honesty, Bill, I try to stay out of the way. I think a lot of times we come in and we want to, and I've seen this happen even where, the chaplain wants to come in and be a busybody. But, when these players are getting ready for a game, they're getting ready for a game. And so I try to, in that moment, all I am is I'm a cheerleader. I'm their hype man, and I'm going around. I'm fist bumping. I'm in their face, and I'm talking to them like a coach. And some of them I've had relationships with, like our goalkeeper, our main goalkeeper. Jake was my student, and I've known Jake for the last
Wow.
10 years plus. And so like we built a relationship. And then there's another guy on the team, BB, who actually has visited our church a few times, and we've built relationship, and he's our JV coach at our high school. And so when the other players see me connecting with them, they see I'm all right, and then and also I think for me, I'm a photographer. So I use my photography skills to make connections. Every athlete is vain enough to want pictures of themselves. And so one of the things that I do with them, which is fun, is we have a rule. I'm like, if you win the game, I will share my pictures with you for free. If you lose, you're welcome to buy them from me. And so we have a lot of fun with that. And I'm happy to say, that they are undefeated at every game that I've been at.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You're doing it. You're getting it done, Joe. That's awesome, man. I love that. Hey, tell me what you have learned.
Sure. I also want to just say before I share that is that the Muskegon Risers are a Christian organization. So our coach is a believer, the owner is a believer. The idea of the Risers, if you look at the logo, it's all built out of rising from brokenness, and that's kind of the impetus of the team, which is really, really cool. I didn't know that when I first came with them, but what I've learned is I think you got to just be patient. I think whether it's pastoring, being a school administrator, being a father, being a chaplain, we can't force people's hand to become or do anything. And we often try to make things happen. But the Lord and the Holy Spirit is going to be the agent of change. We just get to be an object that might be used in that change process. And so I think the main word I would say is patience. Like, I'm not going to do anything. I get to be used in that moment. And so I just want to be patient and available. I'm making one of the guys who actually was my student too, but I've been closer to his daughter, who's a 7-year-old, than I am to him. But he's watching me love on his kid. And the players get to come down and people sign autographs they sign with the young kids after the games. Well, we have a thing that's happened since last year. His daughter, the 7-year-old, comes over and she signs an autograph for me. Her name is Lily. I call her Lily of the Valley. And she comes over and she actually signs my hand with a Sharpie marker every game. And she looks forward to that, and we're building that relationship. Yeah, and so again, patience and availability. I've talked to the guys a lot, especially the guys, because I've been with them. The girls just started a couple weeks ago, and I'll send my number, and I'm like, hey guys, this is who I am, and if you need me or you're available, this is my information. And then when I'm doing, because we don't have a structured chapel time, what I do is I just pray for the team beforehand.
Okay.
And you were talking about resources. Well, one of the resources I've used is some AI stuff. And what I've done is I've asked it to help me with my prayer time toward this sport specifically. And here's the cool thing. Like, I was just like, I don't know how this is going to work. But I was writing a prayer, and I of course, I edited it and did all the stuff that it would be in my voice. And when I got done, I read it at the last game we were at. And for the first time, I heard one of the guys goes, hey, that was good. Wow. Because it was directly about what they do in the game.
Okay. Okay, so good, Joe. So, do you know if other teams in this league have chapel programs at all?
I don't. What I found was our coach Mike Bogart. He wanted I mean, when him and the former owner, Matt Schmidt, were talking, they were like, "We need a chaplain." And then Mike actually has since bought the team, him and another guy, Pedro. And they were like, "We need a chaplain. We need somebody to walk alongside." But I do not know if that's a regular occurrence. And my guess is, based on what I've seen so far, is it's not.
Okay.
But they wanted that to happen.
Yeah. Do you have opportunity to make connection with the visiting team when they come into Muskegon?
I do. So what's funny is there's one team we've played twice and
Hmm.
beat the brakes off of them the first time they came. And when they came back, one of the guys looked at me and he didn't have anything nice to say to me and he kind of pushed me. But we started laughing. Like, I mean, he was just messing with me. But they know who I am and I'm
Right.
able to connect with those guys too. And build relationship. And a lot of them don't really know. And I love this. They don't know who I am or why I'm really there. And what it does is it disarms some things. One of the things that I personally don't like, I don't like for them to treat me like a chaplain
Hmm.
because then they're not being real. They're not being authentic. I know athletes. The funny thing about me being a chaplain is I stopped playing sports very young in my life because I'm a professional musician. So
Oh,
I started
wow.
traveling as a musician when I was 7, and
Oh,
I
my
stopped
goodness.
playing sports around the age of 12.
Okay.
But I've been around athletes my whole life, and so I want them to be their authentic self. I want them to be their locker room self,
Hmm.
and not put on an air for me. And so that way we can start to build relationship, and then that authentic relationship, and go to that.
Yeah. Joe, tell me about the ministry opportunity you may have with the coaching staff and the owners of this team.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, they're. I mean, they love Jesus, so it's just an opportunity to serve them also. So one of the things that I try to do, even as the chaplain, is at halftime, I look at the clock and see how much time is on the clock. And I
Hmm.
started doing this my very first game. Is I took my phone and put a timer on that's a minute ahead of the clock. And so I set it next to the coach. So when he's in the locker room, he doesn't have to worry about time. He can look right at my clock on my
Wow.
phone, and he knows that. So I'm going to serve him as a servant, and not just be in the way and not just be there for those things, but really to be a servant to him. And every time he walks by me, I'm like, "You good?
Wow.
You need anything?" And I want him to know that I'm not just there to be, a cross on the wall. I'm there to be part of the team and a servant.
Wow, I love that. That is so good, man.
Yeah.
Great thinking, Joe. Hey, you've got a room full of chaplains that you're ministering to, and they want to hear from Joe Lane and what they can take away from a conversation with you. I mean, how would you encourage them? What would you tell them that God is teaching you about this whole thing of sports ministry, especially in this day and time that we're living?
Yeah, I think if I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I'd say we're not necessarily walking into a room of people who are excited about Jesus or excited about listening to us.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to meet them where they are and allow them to be who they are, and then let that transformation happen as God sees fit. And Bill, I've learned this a lot through just ministry in general. I
Mhm.
don't proselytize at our school. I walk around and I try to live a life that's a life of faith. And I have students who are coming to our church all the time only because they're seeking something and they know a safe place and someone who loves them
Right.
that they can find out about it from. And
Right.
then that's just what happens. Um, and I think what I would say is you just have to be authentic and allow those opportunities to happen and just be ready for them, be looking for them. And sometimes it just happens in small doses, and sometimes it's a catastrophe. I'm pretty sure that if one of the guys on the team had a very catastrophic thing happen to them in their life and they needed support, I know where they're calling,
Mm.
and they know that they have that avenue. And so, like I said, I like to be the conduit,
Yeah.
and again, stay out of the way.
Yeah.
They're athletes. I don't ever want a guy to say, man, when you were talking to me before the game, I didn't have my head right and we lost because of that.
Joe, great stuff, man. So, here you are, and the season is underway. And I think if I hear anything from you, I hear it's all about relationship building, and you do that in many ways, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I don't know that you know this, but I don't know what year it was. Brett Favre's last year with the Packers.
Okay.
I did chapel talk for the Packers.
Okay.
My friend Joe Urkovich was their chaplain, and he called me down. And I went into the locker room, and there's like 25 guys there. And I said, listen, I don't know y'all, and I don't really care who you are. I know that you're guys with a lot of money and a lot of problems. And so let's get after it. And I really tried to I mean, they all of these athletes have enough people who are chasing after them because of who they are. And although I didn't have that as an athlete, I sure had it as a musician. As I traveled and toured and did all that stuff, it was the same thing with roadies and groupies and all that stuff. And so I remember walking in and I'm like, I don't know you, and I don't care who you are. Like, you aren't anybody to me. I said, you have a lot of problems and a lot of money, and let's get after it. And I'll never forget, I preached how to kill a giant, and I talked about David and Goliath and the giants that they have in their lives. And the cool thing was, guys came by me and they're like, hey man, great job, appreciate it. But this one particular guy walks up, he goes, man, that was a great message, I really appreciated it. And he looks at me, he shakes my hand, he goes, by the way, my name is Aaron Rodgers. And the next year, Aaron Rodgers, he was the MVP of the league, but he was an absolute nobody that year because Brett Favre was still playing. But I think about, and by the way, they did beat the Washington Redskins that day too. But I just feel like I'm going to give them something that's going to motivate them, move them, and challenge them.
Right. That's it. I love it. Joe, I appreciate you so much, man. Appreciate your heart. Appreciate all you're doing there. And keep getting after it, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. And I know the team will appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, man, so much.
Thanks for listening to Sports Chaplains Connect. Be sure and invite a colleague to listen in, and by all means, let's connect. Give us your thoughts on the podcast. Drop us an email at sportschaplainsconnect@gmail.com. That's sportschaplainsconnect@gmail.com. We'll see you next week when Sports Chaplains Connect.